board president secretary is out of town and attending by video conference. All actions will be taken by roll call vote. A recording and or broadcast of this meeting is being made at the direction of the board, which may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. If technical difficulties occur or persist, the meeting will continue without broadcasting. I'm gonna call a roll. Jim.
Here.
John.
Here.
Brian.
Present.
Chuck.
Present.
And present as well, when I'm speaking. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Would any board member like to make a comment on the agenda? I'll ask for motion. Yeah. Okay. Now, roll call for Brian?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Yes. That's fine.
Charlie?
Yes.
And I also approve the agenda. It passes 5-0 unanimously. No action was taken in closed session. Ms. McDonald.
A few things for an update this evening. We are working for our first kind of refreshed new family information night that is scheduled to be January. Central experience, more than a presentation. It's a full experience. This year on January 13th at 6:30 in the Covington Multi, we're going to have childcare available. We've already had about 130 plus pre-registrations, which is really outstanding. Our schools, teachers, students, our great student ambassadors. Stella's been working with the ambassador, not student ambassadors, the school ambassadors have been a great help. So we're going to have a really wonderful evening to kind of welcome, inform incoming TKK and a few different grades as well. You may have seen our full page ad in the town crier, came out in the last town crier. It looked really great. That should be running pretty much up until that point in time. So if you know folks who have little ones in their household, please let them know about that information night. And then shortly after that, the next day registration will open, and then our principals will also be doing school tours to really let families see the classrooms in action on all of our elementary sites, which is great. You all, we came back from our AEC, our annual education conference put on by the California School Boards Association. It was a great and busy several days at the beginning of December. I know, along with several of you, we sat through some kind of recent legal updates, which was very informative. Lots of reminders on good governance, lots of budget information, especially as it relates to community funded districts. Perhaps you all will share in your comments some things that stuck out for you, but I always appreciate that conference to hear kind of the latest of what's happening for school districts around our state. I wanted to let you know, if you haven't seen the social media post, we have a new district-wide event happening this year in March. So you can save the date for March 27th at Block. District-wide, it's called Illuminate LASD. It's replacing and an augment of our former STEM Expo. So not only can kids dive into a question or a topic that they have an interest in within the STEM field, but it can be across any area of interest or passion or question that they have. So we're really excited to have this opportunity all the way through 8th grade. It's going to be really terrific. I want to thank Bryce Choi, who's been doing so much work on developing that as a new event for our district. And in case you weren't able to attend, right towards the end of November, just before Thanksgiving, we had our last district-wide event, which was the LASD Student Art Showcase. It was held over at Almond, but for TK8 students across the district, it was incredible. We have very talented artists of all media. It was really terrific, and I wanted to thank Kimberly Dickerson from the art docents who put a lot of time and effort, Jenny Peck, who's been leading the Educational Partners event crew with the goal of having several district-wide community and student events throughout the year, but that art show was really tremendous. And then we are finishing up the week, our last week of the calendar year this week. It's concert season. So Carrie and I were able to attend the 5th grade portion of the Covington Music Concert today. But there have been several other concerts over the last week. And so if you haven't had a chance to see one of the music concerts in action, there's still, I think, 3 more left on the calendar this year. Yeah, it was fun, right? The squeaking clarinets and all. You know, it's great. I love it.
For Sandra.
No, that's it. Oh,
I was asking if there were questions
Yeah.
for Sandra. I do have a question.
Sure.
Did you say it was a social media event or a social event?
which one?
The Illuminate LASD.
No, there was a social media posting about the LASD event.
Okay. This is the board meeting that we elect presidents, vice presidents, and clerks. And so I would like to first ask if there are any requests for public comment. We have no requests for public comment. I'd like to ask for a nomination for president, and I'd like to open that by nominating myself.
Are you moving?
No, I'm moving, to nominate myself. Moving from there to here.
Just wanted to be, I said, just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not asking for a second.
I have a counter motion.
We'll get to that. Okay,
Well,
Somebody
hang
else.
on. Counter motion?
Well,
So I don't know if I can support, I don't know if I'll be able to vote for you, but I'm willing to second the nomination so we can have the discussion
okay,
rather than let it die. So I'll second.
all right, board discussion. Brian,
So I think I want to address the elephant in the room a little bit, right? Because it's the second time you've been vice president. And so like, I felt like I couldn't support last year. I couldn't support your motion to nominate yourself for president because I thought your public opposition to the bond after we voted to place it on the ballot violated our general norm of supporting board decisions once they've been made, even if we personally would have made other choices. So I was willing to support, I believe that I nominated or seconded the motion to make you vice president again. Because I have a lot of respect for your tenure and what I consider to be your otherwise fairly exemplary record of putting students first as a member of the board when we're considering tough stuff. So this year I have a slightly different concern. Because part of our practice is for the board president, in conjunction with the superintendent, to be the primary point of contact for the public, basically, whether that's the public at large or PTAs or committees, various other things. And I think that that necessarily includes explaining and defending board decisions and board policies, even when we don't necessarily agree with them. And so like over the course of the last year, you've made it pretty clear that you can't really countenance the decisions that we've made about San Antonio South Campus and its use. So I think my question to you is, it seems like you kind of need to make a decision about whether you want to be board president with all of that entails, or whether you want to continue, which is entirely your right, to forcefully advocate for a change in direction from what we've previously decided. So that's my
all right, thank you. Well, but any other comment?
well, I would kind of agree with Brian's concern. But I think it's fine that you don't necessarily agree with decisions that we take, but if you are the president, you do have to support them publicly, so, and that is our agreement and governance norm, and I'm just not 100% sure that you're willing to do that. So I have a little bit of pause.
Charlie, any comment?
Did you say Shelly? Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will be super, super honest, Vladimir. I've been very disappointed in how you have framed the, let's say, the tenant of the, whoever goes to the San Antonio campus. It's, I feel like you've been involved in all of those conversations with us as a board, and that you knew the way that we were thinking and, all of the conversations that we've had. And then I personally was quite disappointed by the two op-eds, which kind of made it sound to me that we had had all these conversations without you. Brian is absolutely correct. The board president, the board president's vote doesn't count more or less than anyone else's, but it's a leadership role of the district. And, we've often said that once the board makes a decision, even if you're on the losing end of that decision, we move forward together, right, as a united front. And knowing how strongly you oppose some of the decisions that we've made about the 10th site, about the bond, I'm really concerned that that you won't move forward with the rest of us. I have been on the losing end of votes, and at some point or other, all of us are going to be on the losing end of a vote. But I do feel confident that the others will move forward once that vote is made in the same direction. And so I think that Brian's point is very valid, and I'd like to hear, what your thoughts are on what we've said so far.
Okay, and I'd like to add to that. So I do share some of these concerns about whether your personal views may interfere with your responsibilities as a spokesperson for the district. But I also want to echo what Brian said about your many years of service and just being very grateful for everything that you've done here, in service of the students and all the care that you've shown to the district.
Thank you. I've given some thought about the role of the president. And I'm willing to say that the board, But if I'm asked, do I support the decision? The answer is going to be no. And so I leave it up to you to draw your conclusions from that.
So are you implying that you'll be otherwise passive about the decisions? Because the impression I've gotten is that you want to advocate fairly forcefully for the change of that.
As board president, I don't think I would advocate forcefully for reconsideration. But I would ask board members and staff of a particular action are. And as far as forcefully supporting the board's decision, I don't think I can do that.
May I say something?
Yeah.
All right. The other thing is taking more of a longer term look at, we have the 10th site, it's going to get built up, someone's going to go there. There's going to be a third bond, because we've always talked about the bonds being a 3 bond process, and so this is a decision that the board has taken to move forward in this direction. And so it's not just about the one, it is a little bit about the continuity of, seeing this all the way through, but it's not just about the one decision of who's going to go to the 10th site. It's also, that decision within the larger context of a full multi-year plan. And, it is up to, I do love the governance that our board does, where it's the board president who speaks on behalf of the board and communicates what the board has voted on and how we're moving forward and that whole thing. And I just think whoever is the board president really needs to be mindful of that this is not a very short-term, short-sighted, what's happening this year or next year. It's part of a longer continuation, for lack of a better word.
Thank you, Shelley. Any more comments?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So would you be willing then, if you feel like you can't defend board decisions around the San Antonio campus forcefully, would you be willing to defer any sort of ex officio stuff? Like, if we get called by a reporter who wants to comment about the San Antonio campus, normally that would be handled by Sandra, or quite often the board president if they want to quote the board member. Would you be willing to agree to defer those to whoever we elect as vice president?
Sure.
Forcefully bring
Yeah.
forward?
With the knowledge that lots of people in congressional hearings have said one thing and then done something else later on, but I'm not gonna do that. No, I would let somebody else act as a spokesperson.
And so I couldn't quite tell, I'm trying to sharpen
Yeah,
my understanding of your answer, previous comment, which was, like, are you willing to agree to not, outside of, I mean, obviously, you're one board member among five, you're eligible to make any comments you would like, during meetings but you're willing to agree to not sort of in your non-board president capacity as a private citizen, sort of work to try to
so the
get
issue,
opposition to our decisions.
so the issue that you're bringing up is the line that separates board president and first amendment rights.
Sure.
And that's never been articulated and probably can't be articulated.
Sure. Well, so there were comments about the op-ed in opposition to the bond measure. And so I'm asking whether you would agree to not do that again during your time as board president.
Let me answer it this way.
Okay.
In general, I'm willing to agree. But there may be a situation. I don't know any particular one that's going to come up. But there may be a situation where I really feel that there's an egregious. Well, you answered it differently, but I was going to answer it. Yes, I agree with that. If there is a situation which I think is really egregious, I will resign. And then you can get elected as a board president.
Wait, can you you're going to resign your board seat, or you're just going to resign as board president?
Well, I'm willing to let other people talk about articulating why the board moved forward. Stella is a good example of somebody who could articulate something very well. In lieu of me articulating. Of course, if I'm called up by the town crier and asked, I will say the board has decided for the following reasons that.
Well, so I'm asking you to go a little farther than that. I'm asking that if the town crier calls you about San Antonio campus, that you refer that to the vice president. Because that's what, when the town crier calls me as a regular board member, I respond with talk to
Oh, yeah.
past
sure,
year
that's
Shally,
fine. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
no
that's what I'm asking for,
Yeah, yeah.
is that you not provide comment as a board member on decisions that you can't support. So we're willing to agree with that.
Yeah.
The thing is, the board president has a lot of, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry. The board president, as the five of us know, is one vote out of five, right? But out in the public sphere, there's a lot of perceived, I don't know, not power is not the right word, but like when you say something as the board president, it somehow carries a little bit more weight. But if you don't say something as the board president, then that absence also carries some sort of weight. And it is the responsibility of the board president to articulate for the district. And I feel like that's one of the, of course, we help set the agenda with the superintendent, and there's all of that, those kinds of responsibilities. But I think one of the biggest ones is definitely that we are, I don't want to use the word mouthpiece, but like, the person who speaks on behalf of the district. And so I feel like that's a major responsibility of that role. And if you are going to defer that responsibility to someone else, then I have a little bit of concern with that. And so I feel like this definitely warrants more discussion. Okay? Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I personally feel, I don't know how the board members feel, I feel that the discussion's gone on long enough. And I'd be willing to call for a vote.
Vladimir, may I ask a question for you?
Sure.
Could you tell us a bit about why you're interested in being board president? Like which aspects of the job you're most interested in?
The power. No, it's first amongst many. It's the on Animal Farm, the pigs were, everybody was equal except the pigs were more. That's the.
So the board president is the pig?
Yes, thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. I told Brian that I'm not gonna post any, first of all, they weren't op-eds, they were.
Sure.
Yeah, but they were my personal opinions on, in a publicly available place, and even privately. I was, I'm trying to find the right word. I was, very unhappy the last time we had, election for president, that I wasn't, elected president. And so this sort of partially undoes that. That's right. Jim?
Not all of that, but what do you mean you were unhappy you weren't elected president?
The norm is for the vice president to move up into the role of the president.
Well,
And my feeling at the time, not for them for that.
okay.
All right, I'm gonna call for a vote. Roll call vote. Brian?
Based on the commitments that you've just given, yes.
Jim?
I'm sorry, no.
What's that?
I'm sorry, no.
Okay, it's fine. Stella?
No.
Charlie?
No.
The nomination fails. We still need a president.
Okay, I have a nomination and sure it will spur a lot of discussion, but I would like to nominate Shawley for president for a second term.
Do I need to accept the nomination?
No, but unless you scream, no, God, no.
Brian will second.
Yeah, I said.
Okay.
Board discussion?
Yes, well, I have, nothing against Shawley being president for a second term. In fact, if nobody else here were willing to be president, I'd be all for it. But it's not clear to me that there's nobody else here willing to be president. And since Shawley has just served as president, I thought it would be appropriate to nominate somebody new for president. So I, can I motion to table this discussion until after we see if there are any
Well,
other
I think-
nominations?
No, I think this is
Process.
process wise, I believe we have to deal with the motion.
Yeah.
In
As
front of
is.
us. But the motion maker may withdraw the motion if in the course of discussion, it becomes clear that it would fail. So, I mean, I think Jim was about to explain why
I'm nominating.
you
Shawley?
nominated Charlie instead of yourself.
Well, I mean, if we want to know why I'm not nominating myself, I just personally, I don't think it's the right time for me to pursue that position. But I do think that we are dealing with some sensitive issues, and maybe having continuity for more than 1 year in that position would be helpful. I know maybe historically for us, it hasn't gone that way, but it is not unusual in other districts or education boards and in other organizations to have a president for more than 1 year. I'm not in any way suggesting that we elect Shawley queen of the board for as long as she's on the board. I just think another year in our current situation is a good thing. And I am not, oh, I already said that. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I said that. For me at this time, it is not a good choice.
Meaning that if somebody were to nominate you, you would decline?
Yes, for
Okay.
president, yes.
Okay.
Well, so I wanted to ask Stella, because I do agree that rotations are generally a good idea. Charlie has a lot of other things going on, but I mean, not that she hasn't done a good job as president. But I also have things going on, so I'm not the president. So the other candidate, Stella, which I would be willing to contemplate nominating Stella if she were interested in, because you've been involved with the district, I think, long enough for this step up. Though abrupt and slightly unusual, I don't think would be beyond your capacity.
Well, I would not decline it if nominated.
Okay, so somebody, Marcy, could you tell me, Jim made a motion, was there a second?
I seconded
Brian,
it.
okay, all right.
So this is the discussion phase. But, Charlie, do you have any comments, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, sitting here thinking about it, we are in a major inflection point right now, right? The decisions are being made and there's stuff moving forward, and I do definitely agree about having some continuity from 1 year to the next. I think it's nothing where, you know, it's definitely nothing about my own ego or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, I feel like this year is a little bit different, or this upcoming calendar year, it's been a little bit different than years gone past. That doesn't mean that, you know, Jim, you, Della, you know, couldn't do this either, you know, and whoever is the board president would support you 100,000%, however I can. I would be very happy to do it. You know, I am still in the process of clearing some things off my calendar to be able to focus more on this closing the academic gap, for lack of a better word, which I'll talk about in my board comments. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm super happy to do it, but I also want to be of greatest service to the district. And if being of greatest service means supporting someone else as board president, then that's fine with me as well. I think the district is more important than any one of the five of us sitting up there.
So we have, a little bit of a conundrum here.
Or can I say something first? It may resolve the conundrum. After hearing Shelley's comments, it sounds to me like she's quite interested in being board president, and I'd be happy to take a vote on that.
Okay. Let's take a vote on, Jim's motion to nominate Shelley to be president. It was seconded by Brian. Brian,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Stella,
Yes.
Shelley,
Yes.
and contrary to board policy, I abstain. Shelley has been elected president. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your confidence in me.
Okay, we move on to vice president now. Do I have a nomination for vice president?
I would like to make a motion to nominate Jim for vice president.
I'd like to second that.
Motion's been made to nominate Jim as vice president by Brian and seconded by Shelley, seconded by Stella.
No.
Shelley.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's the Steve Jim
Yeah.
problem. Sit in the chair.
Steve, Shelley, I don't know.
Any discussion?
I think you'd be great, Jim.
Thanks.
Shelley, do you have any comments?
No, I have full confidence that Jim will be an excellent vice president.
All right, we have a motion by Brian to nominate Jim as vice president, seconded by Shelley. Roll call vote, Jim, Brian,
Yes.
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Shelley,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. to that.
Unanimous vote.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now for clerk. Do I have a motion to nominate somebody for clerk?
May I nominate
Okay.
Stella? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Fine, I'll second Shelley's nomination.
Okay. Board discussion?
Nope, I just want to say I think Stella will be an excellent clerk.
Thanks, I'm gonna sign those.
Here.
Your
Yeah.
folder every time.
Your signature is well practiced.
Any further comment?
No.
All right, I'd like to call a vote. Brian, did you make a motion? I'm sorry.
I did not, but I would vote yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Charlie?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Congratulations.
And now we play musical chairs.
Yes, we do.
Then,
Congratulations, Stella.
Over the remainder of the meeting
Okay.
as our new vice president.
Yeah, this side of the other side by there.
I don't care. We don't have that, so I can bother.
Yeah, we're going to move.
Yeah.
Darcy.
The payment perspective.
Yeah.
One over there.
Can I-
Oh, yeah, sure. And we could
Rotate the placards.
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's fine. And she.
Sorry, thank you for your patience.
No, I missed being on that, actually. My
Um,
spot.
Okay.
See everybody. and-
Everybody in their seats?
Yes.
I always do it. through the meeting. I've done the meeting. It's usually when I do it.
Right. We do it, actually do those things.
Yeah, we
Sign up.
usually have to do that. Okay, next on our agenda is the 2026 board procedures. The board of trustees will consider approving the 2026 board procedures.
I would love to just interject here. I've
Yeah.
gotten a few suggestions as they relate to the board procedures, and I know for item 5, the board committees and appointments, that will be coming back to you all in January after discussion, but I'd like to change the item 4 to discussion as opposed to action. I want to
Okay.
make sure that it's specific to the calendar within the board procedures, and I want to make sure that it kind of matches our calendar within the handbook
Okay,
and things are all organized.
so. Do we need to have a motion by the board to change it to discussion?
No, we can always
We can-
decline to take action
Okay, all right.
even on action items.
But are there any requests for public comment on this? No, okay. So. I guess we'll just go straight to discussion.
Sure.
You probably should make a motion and there'll be no second. And then we can,
I don't know, nobody has to make a motion. Like if it's an action and nobody feels like
oh,
moving, then no action, then, like, even if it's not. Like, if it's not listed for action, then we can't take action, but if it is listed for action, that just means that somebody could make a motion that we could vote on, but it doesn't require us to.
okay, fine.
Okay,
So, sorry, back to you, Jim.
we're just moving into discussion.
Yeah, does
on-
anybody have comments on the board procedures?
So
I do.
I received, yeah, if you wanna,
Well, I just submitted
Yep.
some, suggestions to Sandra for like maybe a few updates to the calendar, just to more accurately reflect the workflow that we've been exhibiting. So, yeah, that's it. So, I don't know if we need to move to bring it back at the next meeting or anything. No,
just put
okay.
it on the agenda. Any,
Okay.
anybody else have any suggestions as you were reading through that? It's more about placement of items within the calendar.
Okay.
I think it's great, super helpful. Thank you so much for doing that.
Okay, then next is the 2026 board committees and appointments. We can discuss the committee assignments and appointments for the upcoming year, and we will approve that at the January 12th meeting. You have a presentation on
Well,
this?
no presentation, but
Okay.
attached for you is the current for this current session that is about to be ending of who was assigned to which committee. So in the past, you all have perhaps discussed a few suggestions of, I've been doing this one for a while and I'd like to do something new, or I really like this one and I'd like to stick with this one. And then Shally and I will discuss and bring back a draft for your consideration. But if you have any wants or needs related to committees, now would be a good time to let us know.
Could you remove me from all the board
Okay.
committees and appointments?
Okay,
I'd asked to be removed from.
To be removed from them?
okay,
I'm happy with what I've been assigned, so I'd be happy to stay on to anything, but, if somebody else expressed interest, I would,
Sure.
okay,
I'd be willing to pick up any of all the items.
Vladimir was on budget review committee.
Yeah.
And then the school committees that, yeah,
Yeah, right, so, I mean,
okay,
I'll also defer, Charlie's president, if you want to be on budget review, I'd be happy to.
no, I'm fine.
Okay,
Enough.
fine with me then.
Jim, for what it's worth, I'm happy with where I am, but I'm also happy to fill up holes if there's anything that needs to be taken care of.
Will you be sending out an interest form this year?
To,
Wasn't there an interest form? Yeah.
There
like-
was last year, but I think that's
Yeah.
because we were new.
Oh, was
Okay.
that the only reason?
Yeah.
yeah, okay, typically it's just a matter
okay.
of discussion
Yeah.
or when we meet.
And
one-on-one.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask if there were
Yeah.
any requests for public comment. Um. So. Other than Vladimir wanting to be removed from his committees, everybody else sounds like they're fine, so.
No, Brian said he would
Trying
take
to
it.
take them.
Oh, yeah, yes, but I mean.
Yep.
We don't need to go through them at this time one by one, we've
Yeah,
kind of.
and when,
summarized
yeah,
it.
when I meet with you all individually or in groups, if you have a interest to change one, you can let me know, and then Shelley and I can work together to bring a draft for, because our board meeting is not until January 12th. We have a full week.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
And it's because I forgot what we said last year at the same time, but were we thinking about adding an LASD City of Mountain View committee? Was that something that we were going to explore, or did we decide not to? I don't remember what we decided last year.
I think we talked about it at the board retreat, and I thought maybe you were gonna check in Mountain View. I don't know if it's still
Okay.
Ellen or if they reorganized, but just to see if there was mutual interest.
Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Do you want me to reach out to their city manager? Because that would really, I don't know. Well, that's my other dream, is that Sandra would meet with the city managers of all of our cities, but sorry, Sandra.
Eric meets frequently.
So you and Shelley could work this out.
Yeah,
See what the best approach is.
Yeah, we'll work on it together, Shelley.
Sounds good, thank you.
Next is the consent calendar. All consent calendar items are considered to be routine and will be approved in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is required, we can remove items for separate consideration. Are there any questions about the consent calendar from the board? No. Are there any requests for public comment? Would any board members like to provide comment on the subject item? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar? So moved. Vladimir, do I have a second? Brian? So Vladimir moved to approve. Brian seconded to approve the consent calendar. We have to roll call this, so Vladimir,
Yes,
Stella?
Yeah.
Brian?
Yes.
Shelley?
Yes,
I too am yes. Consent calendar is approved. Okay, employee request to address the board. Los Altos Teachers Association.
Allison White here on behalf of Los Altos Teachers Association, and as an educator who is deeply committed to the success of the district. I want to begin by acknowledging that strong public schools are built through partnership. When educators, classified staff, administrators, and the board work collaboratively, students benefit. That shared commitment is something our members value and take seriously. In fact, CTA and LATA are working together through the state initiative process to get a permanent extension of Prop 55 on the ballot for November 2026. The expiration of Prop 55 would mean cuts to public schools and community colleges, and in Santa Clara County, an amount of about 162 million would be the effect. And in Los Altos School District, it would be about $691,000. As with previous bond and parcel tax campaigns, LATA is committed to this work to ensure consistent funding for LASD through the work of members to canvass and campaign. I'm also here tonight to respectfully emphasize that partnership must be consistent with the board and not situational. Our educators show up every day during contract negotiations, during budget uncertainty, during moments of public scrutiny, and during moments of celebration. We ask that the board show up with the same consistency, not only when political action or campaign support is needed to advance initiatives, but throughout the ongoing work of governing and supporting our schools. When educators feel heard outside of election cycles, when our professional expertise is sought early, when concerns are addressed proactively, and when transparency is prioritized, trust is strengthened. That trust is essential. It allows us to move forward together when difficult decisions must be made and when we collectively ask the community to support our schools. Our members want to be partners in solutions, not just messengers when it is time to mobilize. We want a relationship grounded in mutual respect, open communication, and shared responsibility for outcomes, good and bad alike. Tonight, I'm asking the board to commit to being present in that partnership at all times. Engage with us regularly, listen to the realities educators face in classrooms and schools, include us meaningfully in conversations before decisions are finalized. If we are truly aligned year round, then when the time comes to advocate publicly, that advocacy will be genuine, unified, and far more effective. Thank you for your time and for your service to the community.
Thank you. Nobody from California School Employees Association. Okay. To provide public comment on agenda items, speaker cards are being submitted to the superintendent. Speaker cards will not be accepted once public comment begins. Your name will be announced when it is your turn to speak. Okay. Okay, community comments. All of this.
Yeah.
Okay. This time is reserved for the public to address the board on items not on the agenda. Community members wishing to address the board are allotted 1, 2, or 3 minutes per speaker, subject to an overall time limit of 30 minutes per item. The board and administration welcome this opportunity to listen. However, the board is not permitted to discuss or take action on non-agenda items, except to instruct the superintendent to review the matter further. Report back to the board at a subsequent meeting or place the matter on a future agenda. The board may make a brief comment or ask clarifying questions. This time is reserved for members of the public and employees to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. The board is not permitted to discuss or take action on non-agenda items except to instruct the superintendent to review the matter further, report back to the board at a subsequent meeting, or place the matter on a future agenda. The board may make a brief comment or ask clarifying questions. We have one request for public comment. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. The speaker is Jessica Mullen. Do you have the timer here?
Hello, here for my monthly. Last year, my name is Jessica Mullen. I'm a Santa Rita parent. Last year, Santa Rita had a ton of behavioral issues. We actually met with a lot of board members sitting up here today in small groups and individually, talking about our concerns, things that weren't being done, gaps that needed to be filled. Parents were told to be patient, that change takes time, that our superintendent and district were working on it. In this last year, we have had more behavioral issues, bigger behavioral issues, more intense behavioral issues that are where parents are resorting to posting on Nextdoor to get support and sharing personal information about their own children in our school WhatsApp and communication groups. We have families leaving our school and LASD because of the gap in equitable support at Santa Rita, not equal, but equitable. This isn't an issue created by our principal or our teachers or our community, but by our own district. Equitable means everyone getting what they need. And I, as a parent, personally see a huge gap. Questions that I have and consistently discuss with other parents are, why do we have kids that require aids that don't have them? Why are kids that need help not equally spread within the schools of our district or even in their zone school? Why are our special ed teachers burning out? Why is it so hard to get IEPs in Los Altos School District? Why are parents being pacified and asked to wait and given no follow-up or follow-through as a collective group? Why are we right-sizing with non-credentialed aides? Why is our library a personal thing for me and a portable? Why do we not have the right playground for our TK kids? Why hasn't our own big kid playground been updated? Why has Santa Rita never been a host for district-wide events like Illuminate or art shows where the board and the public are asked to attend, just like at Covington or at Block? I hope that by continuing to show up, ask questions for our community, and advocate where I can, that our school can be seen as magnificent and supported in the most equitable way within LASD. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now on to our action and discussion items. We have the first interim financial report, presentation by Assistant Superintendent Walkevich. Are there any, so go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you. We're here tonight to bring to the first interim. This is our first opportunity to see what has changed. Since adoption, and when we adopt our budget, most of the financial information is based on some assumptions, and we're gonna go over those today. But first interim is usually a pretty new budget almost. A lot of things have changed since last May. We're adopting our budget before the fiscal year is even over, so we don't know what our ending and beginning balances will be for this year. We also are adopting our budget in time before the state of California adopts their budget. So tonight is our opportunity to make those changes and kind of go and review them with you. So the summary of changes since the adoption, the secured property tax growth is 5.04%. We adopted the budget at 4.75, so very close. And we really rely on the tax assessor's office. So we're eagerly wondering who the new tax assessor will be in the next couple weeks. But it's just only an overall increase of 193,000 total. The in lieu transfer though to BCS. This is a number I'm going to talk a little bit about more, but when we do the in lieu transfer, it's actually a reduction of revenue. So when you look at your SACS forms, it's actually less revenue to the district. I will highlight this specifically, that that is a decrease of revenue, but it's an increase of how much we transfer out to the charter school, and that's 894,000. Increase of the parcel tax at 317,000. There is a 4% COLA built into the parcel tax, but this year, and we will be doing this as part of due diligence, what we do is we send out a letter to all the people that have a permanent parcel tax exemption, and we ask them to verify that they still live there, that they're still alive. And then we get these letters back. Some of them are, we do a return service requested, and so sometimes the letters don't come back, and we find out the person that was getting the permanent exemption no longer lives there. That actually was probably about a $200,000 change to our parcel tax revenue. So we'll be doing that for the next 2 years, and then we'll take a year off, and then we redo it again. And it's just part of due diligence to make sure the people that are living there are actually deserve to get the parcel tax, and if they're not, they owe the district that money. So and if we make a mistake or somebody that deserves a parcel tax exemption, we always give refunds. So throughout the year, there might be somebody that will get a refund the next year as well. So we're very good to our seniors, and we appreciate their support of our schools. Local revenue is mostly PTA donations. We don't budget for PTA donations, but as they come in, you'll see this number goes up to 350,000, and then at secondary number, you'll see local revenue, and that's where the revenue for PTA donations is put. And then the one-time block grant is a change. When we adopted a budget, we had no idea. We had some inklings. We heard in Sacramento there might be a one-time block grant, but until the state adopts their budget at the end of June, we've actually received about 750,000, and that's a one-time revenue, one-time block grant. But expenditures have increased slightly. Health and welfare benefits, including retirees or retirees. It's over $1 million per year for retiree benefits for health and welfare. And then as we get more salary increases, our statutory workers' comp rates go up. The workers' comp rates aren't finalized until July. So we have to make an assumption as the rates go up a little bit, and our salaries, it's tied to your salaries. Some additional staffing and overtime, and some vacation payoffs and column adjustment, and that's about 600,000, but some expenditure changes since adoption. Secured property tax growth is 5.04%. The parcel tax is generating 10.6 million. Guaranteed state aid and then the mandated block grant. And then what Allison talked about in our budget, Prop 55 used to be called Prop 30, now it's Prop 55. But it's about 650,000 this year, and that's $200 per ADA. So as our enrollment has declined, Allison did mention 691, that was like 2 years ago, but that is correct. As our enrollment declines, and every school district relies on these funds. It's not a huge part of our budget, but if you say how many teachers is that, that's about 3 teachers, right? 3.5 teachers roughly for salary benefits. So it is important that it gets renewed, and we strongly appreciate Allison out there advocating to the state legislature, and we're hoping that will happen. We have our lottery unrestricted, and then that due to the charter school amount is significant. And our budget was 10.6 million, and now it's up to 11.5. Our general fund revenue, we are local in nature. We're a basic aid community funded district. 80% of our revenue is local in nature, mostly property taxes and other local revenue. And then the parcel tax is still about 12% of our total revenue. Local property tax, you can see it from adopted to first interim, very close. I pride myself on getting accurate numbers and providing that to the district, but we also rely on the tax assessor's office, and they do a good job letting us know. The unsecured number I want to point out, that is things that are not secured to the actual property. It could be airplane, jet skis, boats, equipment, machinery, things in factories. This is unsecured, and that is down a little bit. So when we say property tax growth, the number I mostly look at is the total amount of all the different ones. And HOX is homeowner exemptions, and that changes from year to year. The unsecured and homeowner exemptions vary from year to year. The property tax with secured is the one that we should always want to focus on the most. But overall, we're very happy with a slight increase in that. And this number will change one more time. We'll have another opportunity if anything changes between here and second interim, we'll let you know. 3-year summary, you can see a property tax growth of 5.9, 5.6. And so it is still growing, but not at the same pace we had several years ago. And so the economy is cooling. We're seeing that. Some of our neighboring districts are seeing property taxes much lower than ours. So we're very lucky to kind of stay where we're at right now. Step income is about 1% for all 3 groups. Increased health and welfare, and then our statutory benefits is a big part of our budget. We do offer all the PERS and STIRS and retirement statutory requirements. It is a big part of our budget. You can see these rates, and obviously the classified employees, they have different rates, and that's the PERS rates, and then the STIRS has been very constant for many years. And these can change based on volatility in the markets and how the pension plans are invested in the markets. General fund expenditures, you can see our budget. It's really a huge part of our budget is people. And so when we look at our budget, the number one thing we spend our money is on people, 83, 84% every year. It varies by 100% or 2. And so that's kind of our budget. It hasn't changed too much about what we spend is on our people. Cafeteria fund, we always want to highlight our cafeteria fund. These are things that are some of the unfunded or underfunded mandate from the state of California. When we started the universal meals, we have a separate fund, and that's called Fund 13 in your financial reports. The local revenue is a little bit of interest. The federal revenue and state, those are reimbursements for reimbursement meals. At adoption to first interim, we're not seeing any changes. We have a slight increase in salaries and benefits and all other is basically like food and supplies. So right now, we're going to keep our budget at the same. And our general fund contribution, that's money from the general fund to pay for, but mostly the people, is still 848,000, and we'll revise that at second interim if we have more information. Special education is a pretty significant change from adopted to first interim. You can see the numbers there, the total expenses from 17.6 to 18.3. Total expenses have gone up. Salaries, obviously on some staffing levels, and then our general fund contribution has increased by 378,000. We are watching our staffing, as you know, we've been talking about this when we do our comparables. We're one of the highest staffed for paraprofessionals in our comparable group. And so we're looking at our staffing, because it's not sustainable to have the staffing levels that we have. As our enrollment has been declining, the number of kids we serve is also declining. So we want to be watching the staffing because it's a pretty significant amount of our budget. The bottom number, all other, is also special education transportation, and then any students that go to non-public school where they can't be served in our original settings. 3-year summary, you can see the general fund contribution has increased significantly and the total expenses. And these are things we keep our eyes on, and we'll be looking at our staffing levels and making sure that we're not overstaffed. Multi-year, not only do we have to look at the current year, but we also have to look 2 out years. And so to certify our budget, we must be solvent in the multi-year expenditures. So we're going to give you our multi-year projections. So for this current year, we're looking at 5.0% growth. And then in the 2 out years, 4% in 3. And as we get more information from the tax assessor's office at second interim and then at adoption, these numbers will be revised. The multi-year projections is based on what we know now. And that changes from 1 year to the next. As we get more information, we will change our budget accordingly. The parcel tax will go up next year by the COLA, so from 10.6 to 10.7. And then all the other numbers are in there are pretty flat. But then due to the charter school, that will increase as enrollment goes up as well. Salary schedule changes. This is the last year of our agreement with our bargaining groups. We will be going into the contract negotiation for compensation next year. But for assumptions in your multi-year assumptions, there will be no changes at this time, but we know we'll be doing that. There will be some changes going out there. Step and column is 1% for all groups. And then staffing changes. We're hoping to capture about 10 FTE changes, but we had to add a little bit of staffing. So we're at 8.5% or 8.57 FTEs from the previous year. So we did reduce staffing a little bit slightly. We're hoping to capture another 1 or 2 people. And then in 2 out years, we wrote to be determined because we don't know. TK staffing, I was looking at a graph the other day and our TK has grown from like 80 kids to over 190. So over the years, and Allison knows, she sees those cute little TKs over at Oak and they're running all over and they're very happy, right? But it does increase our staffing. Next year will be the first year where we'll have a full year behind us where if you turn 4 before September 1st. So I really think next year's TK will be a very good indicator of how our enrollment is going to be going forward for the next several years. So in the out years, we don't know what our enrollment is going to be, so it's hard to say what it will be. So we will to be determined. And then health and welfare benefits, on average, they go up about 10%. So in our multi-year projections, we're projecting a 10% increase, and that's for Kaiser, all the health plans that we offer employees. And then books and supplies are very nominal, 3 to 5%, which is really the consumer price index for inflation for goods and services. These are the rates that we see for CalSTRS. This is the teacher retirement system. Those have been very consistent over the years, not a lot of changes. CalPERS has been a little bit more volatile, but we are actually going to see a slight decrease next year, and then a little bit of an increase, and then a little bit of a decrease, and then a little bit of a decrease out the years. But these do fluctuate and change. I'm pretty sure by the time we get to the adopted budget, these numbers will be off a little bit. They do change every year, but this is the projections that we use going forward. Multi-year revenue, you can see our LCFF revenue, and that's really property taxes and the transfer to the charter school. Federal is going to be flat. And then I want to point out the state revenue, we're not losing $1 million next year. What is the one-time $1 million block grant is in this year's budget for revenue. And then next year, we won't have that money. So the revenue will be somewhat flat. And then the parcel tax, you can see the COLA. And then the other local, it's not a huge drop, but what we're showing is the other local is 6.8. That's including all the PTA donations. And in the out years, it would be not wise to show those. There's also some grants that we received from Valley Health, community grants. Until we get the actual signed grant agreement, and once we know the money will be there, then the money would go back into other local. But right now, we won't be able to show, it wouldn't be fair to say, oh yeah, we know we're going to get it. And if we don't get it, That's not good financial forecasting, and I should use the word forecasting, projection. Right, and then the LCF revenue are property taxes, education protection account, and GSA. The state revenue is mandated block grant, lottery, and ELOP, also Prop 28. And then other locals, interest, fees, leases, grants, or childcare providers. Those are the leases and grants that we have, as the leases and rentals. Salary benefits, you can see, is a huge increase. The other financing, that is the transfer out to our cafeteria fund, and then supplies. When we have carryover, when we have one-time money, you can see supplies and other is higher. But in the out years, when we receive that $1 million of state funds, we have to book the expenditure somewhere. So it's under supplies and services. So in the out years, you're not seeing that increase out there. And then in 27, 28, I should point out from 13.7 to 14.1, that's just an increase in COLA of what we're projecting for supply increases. This is a new slide. We wanted to kind of point out about ongoing expenditures. And so we really wanted to point this out, is that a 1% growth in only secured property tax is about $675,000. So 5% of that is 3.3 million. We need more than 5% just to maintain our ongoing operations, keeping the lights on that we have here tonight, and our bills. Transferring to the charter school from adoption to now, 894,000 increase, step and column. We had a lot of teachers turn in their units, which is awesome. They're getting master's degrees, extra units, but that's an extra dollar that increased a little bit. Step and column is in our multi-year, but that's an ongoing expense. Health and welfare benefits, just for health and welfare, mostly medical, it's 915,000 increase per year. Supplies and services with the very nominal small COLA is 390,000, and our increased special ed contribution is 1.5 million. So you can see we have an issue that our 5% property tax growth for this year is not enough to show the increases of 4.3. Now, we did have in our budget built in the salary increases that are in this year's budget, but next year it's not. So we need to be mindful of this one. We always say, well, how much does it cost of 1% raise? It's X dollars. With the cost of 1% property. So we would really need more than 5% just to kind of break even for this year. Multi-year projections. And you can see the beginning fund balance is declining because we are in deficit spending. So the current year, our fund balance is going to decrease by 3.6 million. Next year, 2.4, but then in the third year, 3.2. Fund 17 is our special reserve that's there for actually any type of, special circumstances. It's an extra reserve for us, but you add that up, and we're at 27.58, and you can see our reserve starting to decline in the out years, and that's with no salary increases in the out years. So these are things that we're looking at. And then why do we need reserves? We added 2 extra slides this year to kind of explain it. We, at our Citizens Advisory Committee Finance meeting last week, we went over this with them. So they have a better understanding of why we need reserves. The district only gets our money 2 or 3 times a year, mostly in November, December, and in April. That's when people pay their property taxes. Our county's very good. They give us the property taxes, even if some people are delinquent. They'll still give us their property taxes. Our budget is about a $92 million budget. That's about 7.6 million per month on our expenses. Our employees expect us to have enough cash, one, to keep the lights on, pay our bills, but to make sure every month they get their paycheck. We have to have money in the bank. Budget is one thing. I will look every day, what is our cash in the bank? Because we only get the money a couple times a year. So the reserve is basically our cash flow for 10 months. 9-10 months is our reserve. It's for cash to pay our bills. It's more than just for any day. It's everyday operations that we rely on. If there is an emergency or natural disaster, a fire, a flood, we might need to use our reserves to pay for something until we get reimbursed by the insurance company. If there's an uninsured claim, you've heard about these claims up and down the state. They're very expensive to school districts and not, insurance doesn't cover everything. But if there's a natural disaster or some sort of large claim against a district, we would have to use our reserves to pay for that. When the money's in the bank, it actually earns interest. And if we have higher reserve in the bank, one, we need it for cash flow to meet our payments for our everyday operating expenses, but it also earns interest. And the ending balance includes restricted funds. So sometimes you think, oh, you have a $2 million in restricted ending balance. Oh, yeah, but that's restricted. ELOC, Prop 28, educator effectiveness, they could only be used for certain things, right? So you can't just use them for anything you want, they're restricted. And then the credit rating really saves our taxpayers. The last 2 years we've been here, we haven't had to use it to a tran where we have to borrow to meet our cash flow. That saves our taxpayers money, saves the district money, because it's nice when people give you money and you can earn a little bit of interest on it, but you gotta pay interest on it too when you borrow. So the district has been able to save some dollars, significant dollars, to not be paying for trans. You have to pay for cost of issuance, bond counsel, so on. It's expensive to borrow, and it's a kind of time consuming as well. So these are very important reasons why we really need reserves. And then I want to use this example. So if you look at your financial reports, there is this interdependence between reserves and cash flow. For example, for this year, from July 1st to end of October, district only received $5.3 million in revenue. Some of it's property taxes, local revenue, so on. But our expenditures was $24 million. So the only way we could survive and pay the electricity bills and make sure every employee got their paycheck at the end of the month was reserves. That $18 million difference was covered by reserves. If you don't have reserves, you can't meet payroll. You see districts up and down the state, and if I know Allison, they see kind of what's going on in the other districts. There's a lot more districts this year. They've been talking about being insolvent, being taken over by the state because they're running out of cash. And that's not a good place to be. We wouldn't be able to meet we'd have a poor credit rating, and our taxpayers would pay more for bonds and so on. So reserves are, people think, oh, you're hoarding money. No, reserves are really for cash flow. And so there's certain districts that they get themselves into trouble where they don't have enough cash, and we don't want to be like that. So we're very fortunate. We've been really tight managing our budget very closely and monitoring cash. So I just want to highlight reserves. This is the first time we've ever kind of presented this. So, and then we also want to highlight this one because this is a new slide also about the charter school impact from year to year. And we wanted to highlight a couple things on this slide. So last year in 24-25, there was about 898 resident students at Fullest Charter School. This year, 910. So not a huge change. But the out-of-district students one is significant. They went from 96 students, roughly 9% of their total students were from out of the district. This year, it went up to 17%, 173 students. Well, not only does that increase, think about this, your tax dollars, the tax dollars of all of our residents are being used to fund kids that don't live in our district. And that impacts our budget tremendously as a reduction of revenue. Our in-lieu transfer last year was about 10.19, roughly almost 10.2. And went from 10.2 last year to 11.5 this year. That is a significant increase. That is money that's being taken out of the district's coffers for out-of-district students. And that's a significant impact to our revenue. And then that compounds over the years as well. And then the portable rentals, as anything else goes up, just like our electricity and light bills and groceries go up, the portable rentals are now costing, this year it's projected to cost us $1 million. It was like 800 a couple years ago. It's gone up significantly. So right this year, we're budgeting a little over $1 million for portable rentals just to house Fullest Charter School. And then obviously we know about overcrowding in Egan and Block, traffic and safety. I try to avoid going to visit the schools during the certain times of the year, day, because of the traffic. It's just not great for kids, not great for the community. So this is a new slide. But we really want to point out the change of how many, when you have these out of district kids, and because of charter school law, we have to pay for them. And that's just it doesn't seem fair, but that is the way the charter school law is written. Economic outlook, we are still looking at budget reductions in order to increase operational efficiencies. Right sizing is such a great word because it is, as your basic aid community funded districts up in our community, you will hear other districts are doing the same thing. Because if the one-time money has gone away, COVID monies have gone away, and as their students, or there's less kids, there's declining enrollment, you have to get your staffing back in ratio of really to meet the demand. Federal Reserve is still battling inflation. They've cut interest rates twice, but we still are seeing not a lot of residential sales. The reason why the homes in Los Altos are holding their value is really there's not a lot of inventory. So if we get more housing turnover, then we will see some increase in property tax revenue. But right now, we're not seeing that. So that's why we're budgeting very, very conservatively. Our fixed costs are increasing from year to year, starting January 1. The health and welfare benefits, we go from January to December for health and welfare. So it's hard. We have to budget kind of half a year of increases. But the health and welfare for all of our employees starts January 1. There'll be increased. That's the employer portion. And some of the employees, depending on what plan they have, they'll see a little increase on their paycheck. If you've seen your PG&E bills, I saw mine the other day and I was sitting down, I was glad they are going way up. So I'm going to keep my house maybe a little colder this week. And that's the economic outlook. Tonight, we're here at December 15th, the first interim. Very curious to see January 20th, what the governor's proposal will be. I'll be up in Sacramento for the governor's workshop and see where we're at. And then there we go. But this is good news. The district has a positive certification. We'll be able to meet our financial obligations for the current year and the 2 subsequent years. And this is an action item. So we'll be asking the board to approve the first interim presentation.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any questions from the board?
I have some questions, but I'll incorporate them in my comments.
Okay. Are there any requests for public comment? Would any board members like to provide comment on this agenda item? Vladimir?
Yeah, I didn't comment on the community comments because I wasn't able to get to it before Jim moved on. So what I'm going to do is try to shoehorn my comments and the community comments into this particular discussion item here. I have a couple of questions. One was early on in your presentation, you had, I think, a change from about $6 million to $11 million in, I think, some sort of expenditure. Is that right?
I probably would need you to point out which one it was.
I can't remember because I don't. Okay. All right. We'll go back. Another question I have is our reserves are about 25% of our expenditures. And our expenditures are about $100 million. So 25% of $100 million is, in other words, only 3/4 of our expenditures during the year are going to be covered by, are not covered by our reserves. So if we don't get money from the state, we can't last 10 months with what we have. We can only last like, 3-4 months or something like that. Okay.
We get apportionment from the state for like ELOP, Prop 28, guaranteed state aid, education protection amount, lottery. We get monthly payments for those. And sometimes lottery, sometimes done quarterly, but we get monthly apportionments from the state. But you're right, it's a small part of our budget and we only get a small amount per month.
Okay. Yeah, because you had, I think you had in there that it would last us 10 months, the reserves. That seemed very large.
Actually, we have to live off a reserve for 9 to 10 months roughly, yes.
I think it's because we received the property tax money from the county. And then that money had like, but it doesn't get all spent in the next month. Right, so that's why it actually lasts longer than just the reserves alone would lead you to believe. So like, that's why, when you calculated how many months it should last, it's not 10 months. Because we're also getting the money from the county and we don't spend it all in the next month.
Correct, and then in the SACS forms, there's a thing called cash. There's a form in there called cash, which is, it's kind of a weird form that's on it's sideways. But it'll show kind of what our cash is for the whole year. And we're required to submit that to the county for review. So the county will review our cash flow. I don't have the form, I do, but in your SACS forms, it's in there, it's called form cash.
So the shoehorn question I have for you is, what in your budget has changed from last year in order to give Santa Rita more money to meet their particular needs?
It's been, staffing, right?
Yeah,
We've increased
Staffing,
staffing across multiple categories of classified and a little bit of certificated as well.
Okay, my understanding was that there was a reduction in staffing.
Overall, as a district, but
No, I mean, just Santa Rita.
no.
no. And the enrollment of Santa Rita has actually gone up. Since the beginning of the year to today, it changes every day, but our enrollment district-wide since the first day of school today has actually gone up. And Santa Rita, I think, was 326 the first day of school, and I think it's 343. I don't have the exact number currently, but it's gone up about 20 plus kids.
Perhaps I could suggest that you address the community comments individually, because a lot of them seem to me to have to do with either not enough staffing, like burnout was mentioned in one of them, or a reduction in staffing. And that doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
Sure.
That's a
Any other comments? Hearing, so, can I get a motion to approve the 2025-2026 first interim financial report?
I'll second.
Is there any further board discussion? Okay. Motion to approve the 2025-2026 first interim financial report was made by Vladimir, seconded by Shawley. We'll do a roll call vote. Vladimir,
yes.
Stella,
Yes.
Brian, yes, Shawley,
Yes.
I too am yes. The motion passes unanimously. Next up is resolution number 25-2607, authorization to decrease income and expenditures. Board of Trustees will consider adopting a resolution authorizing budget increases and transfers between major accounts to balance the budget as necessary at first interim.
As an annual routine item, we actually have the board actually passed a resolution in May to allow us to do these transfers throughout the year, but then we do update the board at first and second interim to do another resolution. Just to any fund balances within the year. So this is a routine item. We're asking you to adopt resolution 25-26-07 to increase expenditures and revenue in the following funds. In the old days, I remember Vladimir would ask me questions. We used to have it broken down by fund and object code, and it was a lot of numbers and a lot of extra work. We're really not required to do that, but we do need to show each fund. So on the actual resolution, we have each fund. that we operate. And general fund is Fund 1, and then all the other subsequent funds that we operate. And we're just showing the increase in expenditures of each fund in there. So we're at, this is an action item, repeatable.
Okay, are there any questions? Are there any requests for public comment? Do any board members want to provide comment on this agenda item? Okay, can I get a motion to approve resolution number 252607, authorization to increase, decrease income and expenditures?
So moved.
Vladimir. Brian seconds. Is there any further board discussion? Okay, so I have a motion by Vladimir to approve resolution number 252607, seconded by Brian. We'll take vote. Vladimir,
Yes.
Bella.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yes.
Shawley.
Yes.
I too am yes. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, the next item on our agenda is resolution 252606, annual developer fee report and 5-year findings for fiscal year 24-25. The Board of Trustees will consider approving a resolution regarding accounting of the annual developer fee report and 5-year findings for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
This is also an annual item. We combine our annual developer fee report and a 5-year annual goal summary.
Sorry. If anyone would like to provide public comment on this item, please submit a speaker card. Okay.
Yes. This is an annual report that we provide to the board every year. And we also combine it with a 5-year report. We also, for transparency, we post this on December 1st. So it gives the community 15 days in order to review it and make any comments they want or come in person. So it has been posted in our website and outside where we post our board agendas on December 1st. We're asking you to approve the annual developer fee report and 5-year findings for the 24-25 fiscal year. We attached our unaudited actuals for Fund 25. And then the full resolution and all the backup information is there. This is also an action item for requesting approval of the 24-25 developer report.
Okay, are there any questions? Any requests for public comment? Would any board members like to provide comment on this agenda item?
Yes,
Okay,
that's my comment.
okay. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 252606, annual developer fee report and 5-year findings for fiscal year 2024-25?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Shelley.
Okay, is there any further board discussion?
Well, Rochambeau next time.
So I have a motion from Vladimir to approve resolution 252606, seconded by Shawley. We will do a roll vote. Brian?
Yes.
Shawley?
Yes.
Bella?
Yeah.
Vladimir?
Yes.
I too am a yes. The motion passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is the independent contractor agreement with IXP LLC for EV charging services. Assistant Superintendent Walkevich will provide an update on the EV charging program and recommend approval of an agreement with IXP LLC for electric vehicle charging services. Eric.
Well, this is our last item tonight, and it's the most exciting one. It has to be.
The last item tonight.
Thank goodness. How could you not have Doc Brown from the great movie Back to the Future to talk about vehicles and charging? So when Back to the Future movie came out, it's 1985. It is the 40-year anniversary. And that DeLorean was really powered by the flux capacitor. Well, gasoline back then, Perry's loving this. The gasoline back then in 1985 was about $1.12 a gallon. And so when Doc Brown had this great time machine back then, who knew electric vehicles were gonna be a thing? Well, they are. So that's my kickoff for this lovely presentation. So I have to move on. It's my favorite movie. I want to kind of give you a history and not so much a back to the future, but we do need to go back a little bit. So in 2018, I'm doing 1985, right? In 2018, the district received a grant from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. And the goal of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District is to have clean air. They want to have electric buses, propane bus. I mean, to really make the air cleaner in the Bay Area, which is really important. And we received a grant to install these charging stations back in 2018. And PowerFlex was the original installer and designer. We installed roughly 185 to 190 total stations. There were some usage requirements. So the usage requirements were you had to show that the neighborhood and the communities were actually using the stations and you were using a number of kilowatt hours per year of charging. Well, those requirements have been met and they were met, I believe, in July of 2022. The first 85% of the grant reimbursement was paid, so the district received about 1.16 from Bay Area Air Quality Management District in 2019. The initial rates were kind of free, and then they kind of were stepped up. And then in July of 23, the district decided, hey, we should probably raise the rates since we met the grant requirements. So in July of 23, we increased the rates during the day to about a little over 40 cents per kilowatt hour for the public. Our staff does receive electricity for free. We did an analysis over the last really year and a half. We presented to the board last August and said, hey, we're analyzing our rates. We need to do something, and some of the charges aren't working. We think we need to do better. So over the last several months, we've been analyzing this. We've been working with PowerFlex to try to come up with an agreement that we felt comfortable with. So we're negotiating with PowerFlex, and then IXP, also OPF is the company. They've been doing work for some neighboring school districts. We start talking to other districts about what they're doing with OPF/IXP, and they started going with them. So neighboring districts did a pilot, and so we decided to look more into it. And so we promised the board we would bring this back to you to do some more analysis is why we're here tonight. The Bay Area Air Quality Management District still owes us about $213,000. So we're working on finalizing, sending them the required documentation and paperwork that they need. They needed a picture of some charges with their sticker on it, so we sent that to them. But some of the issues I want to point out, there have been some, and like, why are we doing this? Well, one, these are taxpayer funds, and we want to use the money to pay our salary for our employees and have money for staffing. But we also, we're not in the business to give away very low cost electricity to our community members. It is a community benefit, but the district shouldn't be shouldering the whole cost. There's been some ongoing maintenance costs. You can see the charger on the left. That's a fast charger. It's been out of commission for quite some time. It hasn't been working. It wouldn't work with the PowerFlex app. And you can see a row of chargers here. Here at the district office, we have these all over all 9 of our sites, and you can see this wand. It's a charging wand. I learned about that. That actually connects to your car, but this one, you can see the wiring is just hanging out. That is off. It's not electrical hazard, so we have that one commissioned off. But that's a perfect example of the district over the last probably 6 months. We've been getting numerous emails that the chargers aren't working. This one's out of commission. And I always joke, oh yeah, it's the flux capacitor that's broke, really. But there's a lot of hardware and software, and all joking aside, just like anything, things wear out. And so when these things were installed, they were probably state of the art, but over the last 7 or 8 years, the hardware, software, firmware, all those things wear out. And so it's kind of time to do a little bit of an upgrade. So we started working with OPF the last several weeks. We had legal counsel involved, helping us negotiate the contract to make sure we're following proper procurement public contract code. So these are kind of the things that OPF was going to be able to do for us. They're gonna kind of take over and modernize our electric vehicle charging stations. They're gonna replace all the vehicle control boards, networking switches, and I'm not gonna go over each one of these for you. And they were able to do that. We sent out a thing to the staff letting them know this is something we're gonna be doing for pending board approval. Then they're gonna provide better support software services. The staff can still use like an app on their phone. They can do it with these RFID cards as well. So there's a lot better, I think, services that will be provided for the district. When this is kind of the timeline is they'll start working on improving all the accounts, upgrading things, all the hardware, network refresh. We want to do some of this work over the winter break. So when staff comes back, there'll be enough chargers available for them. We have about, I think we figured out over 121 users that have district emails that are using these chargers at all the sites. So, a few a site, and it does add up. The rates, these are the rates that we looked at. Zero, no cost for district staff through an RFID card or their app. So they'll be able to log in, charge their car when they come to work, which is such a great public benefit for them. And then for the public, we're our friends in Palo Alto Unified. We felt that was a good rate to discourage use during the day. So the chargers are available for our staff. So $1 per kilowatt hour. In some of our analysis, we were learning that, PG&E has the time of use rates. And depending on the time of year, like in the winter, the gas rates go up, but the electricity goes down. And during the summer, they've got peak demand. You pay more for electricity during that 4 to 9 p.m. window. And we analyzed it was 57 cents per kilowatt. So we felt like 60 cents is a good number to use for now to start out with. And then the 40 cents per kilowatt is at night when the electricity is much cheaper. So from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., electricity is cheaper. So if somebody wants to come over and charge their car, they'll be charged that rate. We will work on no out-of-pocket cost for the district to do all this. So that is an advantage to us. We don't have to use our general fund, bond funds. It'll come. Now, IXP will get some energy credits for this. That's kind of how they make some extra money on it. We did work with legal counsel to make sure to follow public contract and procurement. Procurement meaning if we start analyzing the data after the next 6 months, and it looks like they're making more than they should, more than 114,000 off of this, then we'll renegotiate with them or have to increase the rate to the general public to offset that. But we worked very closely with legal counsel. IXP agreed to signing our form of agreement. So, and then we also recommend working on have some sort of board policy or administrative regulation on EV charging. We don't have that in place. If a staff member car is damaged or something happens, we want to have something to kind of protect the district as well. But it is kind of a risk for the district to have these if something happens. Now, I don't think anything will. We don't all have DeLoreans that go back in time, but people do charge these vehicles and they're in our parking lot. So we want to have some sort of administrative regulation to make it a little more formal. And so tonight we're asking to approve a 1-year agreement. We're going to try out IXP for a year and see how it goes. And then we're going to analyze some data. We'll try to analyze the data really from some point in time, most likely like to the end of December, all the way through the end of next June. And then we'll give you an update sometime next fall by maybe the August board meeting, or really how things are going. What's the update on the whole overall system, and then the number of users and so on. And then if we have to raise the rates or make any rate adjustments, we'll have some good data to do that with, and then we'll bring that back to you to give you an update. So tonight we're asking you to approve a 1-year agreement with IXP for EV charging. They are licensed contractors, so we're using the IXP name for any of the repairs, but then the app that staff would use will say OPF. And so that's how you'll see these OPF stickers out there instead of PowerFlex. And we're happy to work with George. He's the original PowerFlex person, and he worked with us and we're able to meet our contractual obligations. And so I appreciate that. So tonight we're asking for approval of a 1-year agreement.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me show Back to the Future.
Are there any questions from the board?
Oh, yeah. I have one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't send this in advance, but there was like a little over $200,000 pending, and I was just wondering if we have any kind of, estimate for when we would actually receive that remaining grant money?
Yes, I pinged and emailed and called, they want us to sign, one of their like contract amendment forms from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, so I'm having legal counsel review that. Pending review, we hope to receive it in the next couple weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right,
I have a question. So if IXP is getting 20% of the revenue, then if our electricity cost is 57 cents and then we're charging 60, but then IXP is getting 12, we're still losing money.
Yeah, there is a cost to running this program, one, because we don't charge our staff. So we
Right.
are subsidizing our staff, but then we're also paying for them for their services. And so their services is to provide the chargers available, making sure they're operating. We're not paying any upfront cost to change everything out. So we're gonna be analyzing that and looking at it very closely to make sure, because they are,
So they're kind of working on commission. They're only getting the 20% of delivered electricity. We're not paying them anything up front.
correct. Correct, and then the other, I think the other advantage is really the only people who are paying for the electricity, I mean, the district has to pay for electricity, but we are gonna get reimbursed, I think, at a better rate than we have been. So like, we're gonna analyze that in the next 6 months to see where we're at.
Sure, but I'd still like to see us not losing money on any
Yeah,
given kilowatt.
I think
Going
because we
forward.
subsidize our staff, will never break even,
Sure.
because we would have to raise the rates to cover that cost as well.
Yeah, I'm fine with the staff subsidy. I don't think we need to be in the position of subsidizing the general public's
Yeah.
charging.
Correct, yeah. But again, and the good thing is, I think we'll have a more reliable system that is helpful for our staff.
are there any requests for public comment? Would any board members like to provide comment on this agenda item? No. Okay, can I get a motion to approve an agreement with IXP LLC for electric vehicle charging services? Aaron, do you have a second?
I'll second. I see you, Brian, looking at me.
Any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion from Vladimir to approve an agreement with IXP LLC for electric vehicle charging services, seconded by Shawley. Do a roll call vote. Brian,
Yes.
Stella.
Yes.
Vladimir,
Yes.
Shawley.
Yes.
I too am yes, the motion passes unanimously. The next item is the 2026-27 district calendar. The board of trustees will review the proposed 2026-27 district calendar. If anyone would like to provide public comment on this item, please submit a speaker card. Assistant Superintendent Wasco.
Yeah. For you this evening, I have a draft of the 2026-7 school district calendar. This calendar has been reviewed by CSA leadership as well as a calendar committee. And some things to note, it aligns with the MBLA calendar, start, stop, recess, and break dates. And it's what we would consider almost like a status quo calendar, very, very similar to the current year calendar. There's one date in March where we're looking at the minimum day schedule, so you'll see an asterisk on that date. There are some recess dates of the MBLA calendar as we want to further consider. Take any questions?
Are there any questions? Are there any requests for public comment?
And then it would come back in January for your
to
approval, just give the
board,
public
any
the
comments?
calendar.
I don't know.
Dream of.
Hey, no comment for sure. Okay, next item is the CSBA delegate assembly nominations. The board of trustees will consider candidate nominations for California School Boards Association. Delegate assembly. McGonigal.
We're gonna give it right to Shally, who wanted to add this item.
I did, and I'm sorry I didn't pull it earlier. It slipped my mind. I had asked Sandra to add this item to our agenda because the County School Boards Association, I don't believe we sent out an email in time, but anyone who wants to be a candidate needs to be nominated by a school board. Doesn't have to be their own school board, could be any school board in the county. And there was one candidate who wanted to be nominated and wasn't sure if she would be able to get on her board's agenda in time. She did, actually, I found out a couple days ago, she did get on her own agenda, so we actually don't need to do this item. So I'm
Okay.
sorry, I should have pulled it at the beginning.
Okay,
Not take action on this item.
I'll take action. Hey. Board policy updates. CSBA periodically advises districts of recommended changes in board policies, administrative regulations, and board bylaws as a mean to assist boards in keeping their policies current and reflecting all recent changes in law and regulations.
Yes, so 5 new policies for you to take some time to look through. Please reach out if you have comments, questions, concerns, and then these will come back to you at our first January meeting for approval.
Okay, is there any comments or discussion from the board? There's no public comment. Okay. Now is the time for board and administration comments. Carrie.
First, I'd like to just acknowledge Valerie Rogers, who's here in the audience, our Director of Human Resources. And thank her for the work over the last month in evaluating all of the things that are needed to be followed up on here in HR. We're so glad to have her join us here in the district. She joined us also today when we met with our teacher advisory group just before the board meeting and talked a lot about district culture and staff morale. It was really a lovely meeting. I also met with Pat Broadkey, a member of our community and an alum parent, to talk about some experience with Santa Rita and Almond families and how we can grow together. Listening tours, supporting our English learner families, and that was just a wonderful meeting as well. It was really cool to meet with parents who had gone through our Los Altos Elementary School, middle school, high school, and now we're have graduates and learn from that retrospective experience. Also, we are getting ready to roll out an app called Parent Square. Those of you that have kids at MPLA have heard of this app before. So we have another planning meeting in January to talk about our rollout. And this app will help not only streamline communications, but it translates. So teachers, principals can communicate directly with families in their preferred language. All the family has to do is indicate in PowerSchool what their preferred home language is, and it'll translate to and from messaging. So we're really excited about that capability. We're going to do what we call kind of a soft rollout. We're going to start with staff first, get them really comfortable with using the app, posting to the app, and then roll to families after that.
Thank you, Eric.
I really want to thank Elizabetta and business staff team, Sandra Bush, for helping get our agenda ready, and Elizabetta, all the work behind the scenes. For first interim, it's a lot of work, and you can see all the handouts in front of you. And then we had a great meeting last week with some principals and district staff called a page turn. And so we go through all the drawings from the design development of the San Antonio campus. So we got staff and principal and administrator comments about the design, the layout. So that was really good to get feedback from some site administrators. I want to acknowledge class that Kim wasn't here tonight for CSA, but I always want to acknowledge our great CSA staff working so hard behind the scenes supporting our schools. We have a lot of projects going on over break, some tree work, some DSA closeout work, which I know you guys approved that agreement tonight. And then we're gonna have a site visit with the design build team over at Egan to look at some of the specialized spaces to make sure we're capturing really the robotics maker spaces and the science labs and things like that to make sure we're encompassing those things. And then last week I received my red badge from Rotary. So I'm an official Red Badger, and I was very lucky to be inducted and sponsored by our friend Jessica Spicer. So, but a lot of great things going on, and thank you for the time for you to.
Like the other members of the board, I went to the annual education conference in Sacramento. And the sessions that I attended were mostly about workforce housing. And it's complicated, but it's actually possible under certain circumstances to get revenue from workforce housing. Arrange it properly. And it's also possible to build workforce housing with no general funds and no bond money. So that's something that I think we should look into.
Right?
I was at Santa Rita today volunteering with Science Olympiad. Another instance in December this time instead of June,
Yeah,
which was
so early.
slightly different vibe. It was a little chillier outside. But that was a lot of fun. And just for general awareness, even though it doesn't have anything to do with the assessor race, one of the candidates has filed that proposed ballot measure to exempt seniors from property taxes, which despite his claims to the contrary that there'd be no effect, I looked at his language, there's nothing about school exemptions, so my seat of the pants estimate is that would cost us 30% of our property tax revenue.
Okay, Stella?
Yes, so since our last board meeting, I attended a tour at Loyola School with Sandra and also Dr. Rogers. So that was very lovely. And I also wanted to thank Eric for his presentation on first interim and all the work that he put into it, and also the budget narrative, which, you know, people didn't get to hear that tonight, but actually I could tell how much work went into that as well. And also the levity that you brought with your Back to the Future reference. I appreciated all of it. And I wanted to thank Jessica Spicer for hosting our administration and board member mixer. That was really nice of her. And I enjoyed AEC as well, but even more than the nuggets that we took away from the breakout sessions, I really enjoyed the time, you know, spending the time with those of you that were able to make it. And Brian and Eric, you were missed.
Shali?
Yeah, so AEC was wonderful. It's always great to catch up with other school board trustees around the state and see what they're up to and what their challenges are. I really enjoyed hanging out with our district team, and we'll just want to echo Stella's thank you, deepest thanks to Jessica. It just kind of shows that she may no longer be a part of our board, but she's still part of the us, she's part of our we. I wanted to just very quickly, I went to challenge team. It was about social media addiction, which was very interesting. I spoke at Loyola PTA meeting, just kind of giving them an update on what the board is working on and some decisions that we've made. And then after AEC, I just wanted to let you all know that there is something that I've been doing. So since the summer, I've been involved in a systems thinking leadership training program through the California Academic Partnership Program, which is now housed in UCLA. It was part of the CSU system. And people who are involved in this program are working towards an equity leadership certification. And the focus of the program is improving education equity to assure that we're closing academic achievement gaps. So typically districts will send teams of teachers and administrators, but I am part of the first team that is not district centered. But it's composed of 5 school board trustees and 1 teacher representing 6 districts in Santa Clara County. So I think they're going to see how it goes with us before letting more groups do this. Most of our sessions are over Zoom, but we had a conference in Long Beach immediately after AEC, which I attended. Our keynote speaker was Dr. Robin Avalar-LaSalle from Orenda, who is a big friend of our district. And I just wanted to say that once having been accepted into this program, all expenses are paid by the California Academic Partnership Program. So there's no cost to our district for me to participate, but all the wonderful things that I'm learning will hopefully impact our district in a positive way. That's it. Thank you.
I also attended AEC. It's always a interesting time. One thing that I appreciate about AEC is I usually attend sessions that highlight just how well we're doing for our students and our staff. And even though I know there's always room for improvement and things that need to happen, it's just good to see that we are where we are and we are as fortunate as we are. And also I mentioned earlier, but I did have somebody, I don't know what went on in PTA leadership last week, but somebody did approach me afterwards and tell me how awesome and impressive Eric is, how much they appreciate the work that he does. So I thought that was great.
Good job, Eric.
Thank you.
So I guess we are done and we will adjourn the meeting at 8:58.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Take care, Shelley.